a hero, for God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father, for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Pain. I see in your eyes anguish. I can read plastered on your faces uncertainty. But that uncertainty, anguish, and pain coexist with hope. Hope that one day we will be able to walk into a free homeland. We will be able to remember all those who have died in our name. We will be able to remember all those who have been raped because they fight for a free Ambazonia. You have come from all places. You've taken time from all your chores. You are here today because you are the true inhabitants of that place that was taken away from us. You have come here as soldiers of the revolution, the last people standing to defend our values, our customs, and our tradition. You've come here to send a message to those who have occupied our homeland, have raped our girls and turned our fathers into boys, that before they will occupy our land in the next 2 years, they will have to eliminate every Ambazonian from the planet Earth. 45 years ago, they instituted a concept of national unity. That concept coexisted with the destruction of our economic potentials. When we protested, they called us terrorists. They said they were standing for national unity. That national unity meant the destruction of our own potentials. It meant the elimination of our own leaders, our own patriot volunteers. The concept of nationality, of national unity, meant we did not have a university, that we should go to Yaoundé and study in French in the name of national unity. It meant we could not have our own parliament, because they thought asking us to sit in Yaoundé was the concept of national unity. They thought we didn't have a right to marketing board, because we should depend on them because of the concept of national unity. They thought they would destroy our police forces, and we should depend on their own protection, on the concept of national unity. 45 years ago, they lied us. 45 years after, we have vowed as a people who have suffered tribulation, economic deprivation, political exclusion, pain, anguish, hopelessness, scattered and dotted in the capitals of Western places, being unsure what tomorrow holds for us, being unsure what our children will become, because we went to schools that was dedicated to the production of people who had no value. The bad schools which were just 4 walls to turn us into dependent, to turn us into hopeless people. The best schools that were prison walls where they could revise our history, educate us in their own history to make us slaves. They turn us slaves in the land of our birth. Until a young man called BBC Mancho took his coffin on the street and told Cameroon, give us freedom or give us death. We are here today with our own coffin. to bury the concept of national unity, as our brother has said, 1,000 feet down the earth.
Yes!
Never again, Ambazonians. Never again, Ambazonians.
Never again.
Never shall we allow a people whom we thought were our brothers to steal our own pride, to steal our happiness, to treat us like a captured people, to build prisons where they could kidnap our young boys and young girls, transport them from our own city into their own capital. Never again shall we coexist with the people who have no respect for our own essentiality. Never again shall we live with a neighbor that exploit our resources to develop its own country. Never again shall we live with a state that considers us a liability, refuses to develop our own capabilities to become assets to ourselves and our homeland. Never again shall we tolerate a system that denies us the right to exist. Never again shall we let our children be tortured on the streets of our country. Never again, my people, shall we live in pain, shall we live in anguish, hopelessness. Never again shall we sit back and watch our women raped in hostels. Men of Ambazonia, I want you to take the battle block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. If not for yourself, for our women, for our children, for all those mothers who cannot go to the market because we've imposed ghost towns, for those children who cannot go to school because they've given us an educational system that is a liability, for the lawyers who cannot go to court because they cannot speak the English language in our courts, for all of you sitting in asylum homes in dotted places, hopeless, not knowing what your future would be, whether you will end up in an old people's home or you will return to a land that is hopeless. You are here as soldiers of the revolution. Fight for your country. Never let anybody tell you it's impossible. I have come here as the commander of this revolution to let you know that we will defeat Cameroon. We will not only defeat Cameroon, we will make it impossible for Cameroon again to ever invade our land. I have come here to assure you, to give you the assurances. A few months down the line, we will be able to make our country ungovernable for the Ekemas, the Muketes, the Atanganjis, all those who keep collaborating with the system, the Musonges, the Achidi Achus, all the parliamentarians who legitimize occupation in Yaoundé. If they cross the Mongo and the Matasin, that will be a one-way ticket to hell. We will make it impossible for them to ever return in our homeland, to legitimize a system that has brought us pain, unhappiness, anguish, uncertainty. It is the land of our birth. It belongs to you. For those people yet unborn, for those children who are not going to school, it is your right to exist. And you are here to let Cameroon, to let all those who support Cameroon, to let all those who tolerate this illegality know that our day shall come. The day we will be able to walk into our capital, build a system that responds to our needs, to our norms, customs, and values, that protect our children from hopelessness, that make our men real men, that give our women equal opportunity, that stop the woman. Today, 54 years ago, the United Nations General Assembly unanimously passed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration was an instrument to maintain justice and order in a world shattered with war and oppression. So we have come here today on the 10th of December in front of the Embassy of La République du Cameroon, the most corrupt country in the world, the most oppressed country in the world. We have come to protest. Today, we are assembled again, and we are standing far away from the oppressive embassy. The embassy has been surrounded by the German police. Do you want me to say the German police and the German state is playing a conspiracy role here or what? Why should Germany and why should the German police allow the embassy staff to use video cameras and audio cameras to film the protesters? Have they not learned from history? We will continue this struggle until freedom will ring for our people. We will never surrender because our cause is a just one.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I go for Yaoundé. I see something. Wonderful. To my papi, a big girl. Wonderful. To my papi, a big girl.
This letter to the embassy that was accepted by the police. So we want to do that. One person or three persons, yeah.
Ich habe mit einem Mitarbeiter der Botschaft gesprochen. Man erklärt sich bereit, diese Note dann am Zaun entgegenzunehmen. Ja? Wen möchten Sie denn da haben? Möchten Sie da jemand Bestimmtes haben?
Der Ambassador.
Der wird das persönlich nicht entgegennehmen. Es wird ein Mitarbeiter der Botschaft an den Zaun herantreten und das dann von Ihnen entgegennehmen und dann zum Botschafter weiterbringen.
Yes, the one.
Ist dann abpassiert?
Jetzt ist der hier. Wir haben vereinbart, dass wir das hier am Zaun abgeben. Das haben wir gerade drüben abgesprochen. So möchte ich auch, dass wir das dann machen.
Let's do it. If you come out,
No, let's do it. It's okay, no problem.
we have these prisoners that your government is keeping in jail. But not allowed because the camera is. Yes, I would like you to give it to your ambassador, the representative of the PR regime, okay? Okay.
So what was the main purpose of this demonstration? To calm down the government?
And no,
The sun has risen over Ambazonia. It will never set again until the last soldier of the occupying regime walks back across the Mongo, put their legs between their own legs, and kiss goodbye to Ambazonia. I call upon you to remember all those who've laid their lives for Ambazonia, the brave soldiers of our war of independence, the women who on a daily basis have to dig graves to bury theirs. Never to give up, never to doubt that you've reclaimed your future, that despite the hurdles you find on your way, remember this today: Ambazonia is free and free forever. And for all those who have exacted such pain and humiliation, we will hold them accountable. For you, the international system, in invoking the decision to recognize Croatia as an independent country, the Vatican observed the resistance of Croatia. It observed the pain that the Croatian people had gone through under the Yugoslavian regime. It concluded that based on such resistance, based on the elections, the results of a referendum, based on the anger and the pain that the Croatian people had gone through, it was absolutely impossible for Croatia to remain subject to Yugoslavian domestic rule again. Against all odds, the Vatican recognized Croatia as an independent country. This should be a message to the international system. Cameroon is defeated. In more than 2 elections, our people have made it absolutely clear we are not giving the mandate to govern to an alien regime that does not represent our interests. Our people have resisted Cameroon for the past 3 years across the 13 states of our homeland. Our people have shown with absolute determination that it is endgame. Like the Vatican did for Croatia, it is time for the world to recognize Ambazonia as an independent state. Work with us to set up a transitional authority that will begin preparing for the day of governance, bringing together our finest men and women, instituting a post-conflict and reconciliation system, a post-conflict and justice system that will bring relief to all the women and children, families that have been so battered by Cameroon. That's the only way forward. You can only delay it. You can never deny it. My fellow people, remain steadfast. And let all of us across the globe, wherever you may be, observe a minute of silence on behalf of all those who've lived their lives so we may yet have a homeland for all. God bless you all. God bless Ambazonia.
I told you before, when the time comes, they will come to us. And I remind you, I know my national security advisor always reminds me I shouldn't utter certain words, but I say them so you don't forget. Because I know they are trying to take me down. But even if I'm not around, don't forget. You don't owe them child support. Don't forget the crimes they've committed against us. We, this generation, will defeat Cameroon in battle. They said they could fight. They said they had trained bees. They had United States provided tanks and warplanes. We want them to fight. We invite them to fight. We invite them to fight. Where them they? Where them they? Watana wata. Ambazonians, don't be fooled. They fooled us before, not this generation. This is the never again generation that has decided to write the last chapter of its own history, to pen down the story of General Ivo, the bravery of our patriots who fought in trenches with den guns. The stakes are high. Negotiations is not to give you freedom. It's to maintain the status quo. To maintain stability for international exploitation and conspiracy against our own humanity. They aren't coming to talk for the liberation of our detainees, our prisoners of war. They come like Trojan horses with bayonets to murder our patriots volunteers. My fellow people, the kind of country we want to leave to the next generation is one where people find peace and happiness and hope. Where people can laugh even in poverty. They can transform their own society to reflect the kind of society they want to build. We want to build a country where he can walk in and feel at home. Where she can walk in and feel at home. We want to build a country where if you are a hairdresser, you take pride in creating beauty. If you are a farmer, you are happy producing cassava, being able to turn it into gari and find the market 6,000 kilometers away. We want to build a country where we can have
a curriculum of education that empowers our people to capture the creative energy of sunlight and power every home. We want to make sure you can capture the rain of the raining season and make sure you can still eat fresh fruit in the dry season. We want to build a country where you can find peace, you can unite your body and your soul and have hope even in poverty. We want to build a country for all of you. So when your final days shall come and you bequeath to the next generation something better than was given to you. That's why you've taken time off to come to this hall today. You're the finest, you are the bravest, you are the warriors of our war of independence. Don't let anyone fool you. I stand between you and your colonizers. And I'll make sure you're going to have your freedom. Freedom is a universal currency. It's valid through time and space. And as a human being, you should take pride in it. I thank you for your sacrifices, for your dedication. I thank you for the investment you've made in the last years, for having hope in this leadership. You are the grassroots. You must have taken note, as he said, you are the vanguard of our revolution. If you look through this hall, we have Ambazonians, professors and doctors in South Africa. You will find very few of them around. You will decide who will govern you. All those in exile must think like entrepreneurs, opportunity creators, for those battling in the bushes, for those fighting on a daily basis. I ask all of you to recommit. In the next few months, we can write Cameroon's obituary in our homeland. Thank you, fellow Ambazonians. Thank you, South Africans, for coming here tonight. God bless you all, and God protect Ambazonia. Revolution is very challenging. And sometimes you are bound as a human being to question why you fight. You're bound to question why you fight. Sometimes you are even bound to forget why you fight. You are so much captured in the chaos of the moment that you sometimes forget the beauty of the aftermath of this case. Somewhere I read that we all are fighting for independence. Somewhere I read that we all want to be free. Somewhere I read that Ambazonians want a country of their own. And so you look at this big picture. It's about independence, abstract, political configuration. That's what you think you're fighting for. No. You are fighting to build a society where all those who propagate tribalism, propagate hate and division, do not have their way. You're fighting to build a society where you can live in Moyoka and feel an Ambazonian. Develop Moyoka and feel an Ambazonian. That your presence in Moyoka will never be questioned by someone who grew up in Moyoka. You're fighting for a society where you have freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. You're fighting to have a system where you have proper health care, where a woman doesn't die every minute of childbirth. You want to build an educational system that is an asset to the people who pass through it than a liability. A legal system that presumes you're not guilty until you're found guilty by a court of law. That you can, a system where you can never simply be impeached on false premises, never have a trial, but punish. You want to build a country where from the north, south, east, and west, you can feel at home everywhere. Where you can have opportunities based on merit, not because of nepotism. You're fighting for a country where you have economic opportunities, where your creative ability can translate into a better life for you, your family, your society, and those beyond our own shores, where your vote counts, where you can choose your leaders and deselect them anytime you want. And that space within which those things can happen will be in a free Ambazonia. So what we call political independence is a container for all of the good things we are fighting for. My fellow Ambazonians, this is Dr. Chuayaba. Oh, una please day. I just want to make an update on the third day of our lockdown. I know you are sitting at home in the homeland. I know you've been deprived of your businesses. But as I have said many times, for us to be free from the pain that we have experienced with Cameroon, we have to go through a certain level of sacrifice. This is very important. These are strategies designed to weaken the ability of the enemy. And secondly, more importantly also, to begin to inject doubt in them about their ability and preparedness to continuously occupy Ambazonia. Sometimes a struggle is about will. It's about willpower. It may not be about physical strength. It may not be about the amount of resources you have. Sometimes it's about willpower. For more than 40 years, Biya has shown that he is a man of extreme willpower. For those who experience 9 months of ghost towns and civil disobedience in the early 90s, you will remember the famous statement Biya made in Douala, that if Yaoundé breathes, Cameroon is okay. I am not citing here only process. It is important for you to know all those, or 90% plus of those who oppose Mr. Biya have ended up sitting on his lap, being integrated as part of the system of corruption, looting and killing that they ask people to rise up and fight against. So if there is one thing other than violence that Mr. Biya has shown, it is willpower. He does not give a damn. He stays silent. Every time you pin yourself on TV that he's going to blink, he has never blinked. So we have been raised in a culture where people always blinked. That is why you may call Dr. Chuayaba an extremist, that he only likes violence. No. It's about understanding the opponent you are dealing with and how they have survived more than 50 years of opposition. You do not understand them, you can defeat them. And so each time when these lockdowns are called, the enemy has believed that it's propaganda, that Ambazonia has been defeated, that we are divided, that we are fractured, that our own soldiers, the brave patriots of our land, have become kidnappers for ransom. They have believed that this propaganda will end Ambazonian resistance, or will make you begin to see them as a better alternative. I know you always forget, so I take the time to remind you. More than 1,200 villages were burnt. The Amazonian forces burnt none. More than 30,000 of our people have been killed. Amazonian forces have not killed 100. Thousands and thousands of our people have disappeared. Amazonian forces have not disappeared civilians. Thousands and thousands of our people are in the jails of Cameroon. In Cameroon, we hold no Cameroonian presently in our custody. The Ngabu massacre was committed by them. The Pinin massacre, the Santa massacre, Kwakwa, the entire village of Kwakwa that was burnt, including Mamia P, Baby Mata was murdered by them. The children killed in Boya were killed by them. Samsoya, whose head was cut by them. I have said, it is not what we do that makes them hate us, that makes them kill us. It is who we are that hurts and irritates them. They see us as animals who should be their slaves, whose land should be exploited and no finger raised. That is why they are angry. That the people they saw as slaves, as animals, could have the audacity to rise up and ask for rights. They know rights are given only to humans, and we are not humans. We don't have a single La Republique teacher in our jail. We have hundreds of our teachers locked up. Yet the barbarians come to tell you that, they love schools, they love the education of our children more than we do. Pontius Pilate, damn hypocrites. This lockdown has taken them by surprise. They thought they had broken our willpower. They thought they had cornered us. They thought they had propagated the notion of Ambazonian division to the extent that you will surrender to their anarchy, corruption, brutality, and hate, which manifests itself on a daily basis in their actions of kale, extortion, and rape. You've given them a bloodied nose in the past 2 days. My people, it takes only one generation to rise up and say this nonsense must come to an end. I remind you, after 18 years in jail, Nelson Mandela was given the opportunity to renounce the right to self-defense, which they call violence, for his release. He wrote a letter from jail and gave it to his daughter to read out loud. Prisoners do not enter into contract. And he made it absolutely clear. The violence is being perpetrated by the white supremacists. Our right to self-preservation has pushed us to the level to arm ourselves just to stay alive. Aung San Suu Kyi, who's been in house arrest in Myanmar, the Nobel Prize laureate, had the opportunity to go into exile than being locked up in house arrest. She said no. Fellow Ambazonians, we have to persevere. We are very close. We are the only generation who for 7 years have been written off, disrespected, attacked, undermined. And we have not blinked. That is the victory we have gotten. For the first time in the history of our existence, when we challenge the enemy, You shall not use your own country to decide how Ambazonia is going to live. They were able to crawl underground to ask the Swiss to help. We did not blink. They crawled again and asked the Canadians to help. We are the only generation who could get the House of Lords to speak about us, to speak about people they describe as 2 cubes of sugar. Your resilience, your strength caused the Lords to bat for you. The most powerful Senate in the world could make resolutions on your behalf. They took a chance for you because they measured and quantified your spirit and your resilience, and they believe you are up to the task. No country takes a chance for weaklings. No country takes a chance for those who easily surrender. No country puts its reputation and credibility on the line for a people who damn not serious. They did it because they know we are serious. It is not only because, it's not because of our pain, it's not because the burned villages, it's not because the murdered people. They did it because we showed leadership of exceptional quality. We articulated our case with excellence. We raised our nation with a flag, an anthem, set up institutions like a people who were prepared. You've taken them by surprise. They are confused. Even colonial governors are locked down or they have escaped into La Republique. My fellow people, about 100 students, children, have been gathered and taken into the market of Njinikon, where they have been put in containers without ventilation to take pictures and videos to show that children are going to school. Even their barbarian military are home. My people accept the other day, those who get recruited into the Cameroon armed forces do not do so for love for country. Those who have gotten recruited into Ambazonian forces have done so because of the love for country. That is the difference. They get recruited because they need a salary. They need money. None of them is prepared to die for Mr. Biya. None of them is prepared to sacrifice their limb for Cameroon. Cameroon has given them nothing. They saw in the police, in the gendarmerie, in the B, an extortion scheme, bribery and corruption, an opportunity to make a living for their families, because they knew they were living in a country that had no hope in creating opportunities for them. Do you know the only sustainable sector of the society that remains stuck with the Biya regime? The cartels, the elites. The reason is because there are few risks associated with their treacherous nature. They don't go to fight. That's why most of them have escaped. Chiefs and fawns, custodians of our culture and tradition have escaped. They can't sit around the fireplace. The kitchen is hot. My fellow people, the lockdown ends on the 23rd. I know there are some propagandists, looters, embezzlers, people who've called for the killing of our forces, people who betrayed our refugees, our soldiers in Biafra land, those who have taken the struggle as a place where they can make little money. those who speak the loudest to articulate for the enemy. I know they are going around doing propaganda. The World Economic Forum, in its 2024 risk assessment, has said the greatest risk our societies face today is not maybe state oppression, it's propaganda and lies, it's distortion through social media. And so with the cell phone in your hands, the TV you sit in front has been hijacked by propagandists, liars who know you can consume every garbage. You know who to listen to. You know what information you can believe. That is one of the greatest tools in your hands to shut down these propagandists, people who have divided our struggle, people who have virtually no time to be concerned about how we shall be free. The lockdown will end on the 23rd. This lockdown was called once again to make sure there is a clear distinction between Ambazonia and Cameroon. If independence must mean independence, it must manifest itself in the things we do, how we conduct ourselves. We must show the world what we are doing, what we are against. And the actions we've taken in the last 3 days has shown the world that you want to be free in independence. It was called to make sure that once in our miserable existence, we provide to our children proper education, knowledge, the kind of knowledge my mother taught me how to plow the fields and plant cassava. And the kind of knowledge, not from school, I learned how to use my own hands to make gari, fry it, carry it to Mbon market. The kind of skills our parents gave us to go to the raffia bush and tap palm wine. Never learned that from school. The kind of skills that we all use to turn red mbanga into oil. All the skills, Mama, and all the skills we have. In which school did you learn those skills from? They've turned schools into 4 walls where we're locked up to give us certificates. And then we use the certificate to escape from the country. Or we use the certificate now to go and show to another institution to get some skills for our own survival. Every system of education that people take pride in started this way. They struggled, they limped, they walked, then they began to run. That is why we've called for this lockdown. And we are succeeding, my people. We are succeeding. Let's not give up the little victories we have made because we feel it's going to be difficult going forward. Going backward is death sentence. Going backward is suicide. Going backward is betrayal. This generation cannot betray the next generation. Cannot betray those locked up in jail. Cannot betray all those who have died. We can't. We can't. If you're listening to me, note that we are humans. We will make some mistakes, but our strategies are automated. They self-adjust. We self-correct. We look forward. We have a plan, not only how to free you, but what kind of systems that we are going to put in place to make you richer than you are today, happier than you are today, to plaster laughter on your faces, certainty in the way you do things. Oh God, I look at our roads and I ask myself, are we in 1910? I look at our roads, look at our hospitals, look at our markets. Our cities are all polluted with trash. Countries are turning trash into energy, into clean drinking water, into manure. We have looters who have taken over. They can't do a damn thing. Hail, hail, hail Ambazonia.
Racho Ayaba is in studio with me, frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council. Dr. Ayaba, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
When we talk about Ambazonia, what are we talking about?
We are talking about a country that gained independence on the 1st of October 1961 and was occupied by Cameroon thereafter, and has since used its domestic laws and acts of terror to maintain that occupation.
So you are an independent country, independent territory.
We were an independent territory until Cameroon encroached into our territory and occupied it.
So right now, as things stand, where is the government seat? Where do you pay your taxes? Where do you talk to us about the political, economic, social setup of Ambazonia and vis-a-vis Cameroon?
Before Cameroon invaded our country, we were self-governing, flourishing territory with our own government, our prime minister. We had a parliament, a house of chiefs, and we had a flourishing economy that could, cater for the Amazonian people. And once Cameroon moved in, the first thing it did was it dismantled our economic infrastructures, it dismantled our political system, and imposed its own system within our territory. Because we produce 60% of the GDP, that was one of the primary motivation for the encroachment and the occupation of our country. And taxes have since then been paid into the treasury of Cameroon, which it has used to build a large army that is using to terrorize our population and, basically abandon our own country into dilapidation.
Yeah. Is it the linguistic issue that is at heart here? Because I'm getting a sense that you Anglophone and the northern part of Cameroon is Francophone, and perhaps there might be ideological clash there.
It's a gross misconception.
Yeah.
It's not a linguistic issue. That's why people always see it as secession. Cameroon gained independence with its international border clearly demarcated on the 1st of January 1960. It gained admission into the United Nations in September the same year, and that did not include Ambazonia. Ambazonia was a self-governing territory. You can only secede from a country that you both gain independence on the same day, and that's why we look at other places that are fighting for self-governance, like the Biafra situation. They gain independence as an integral part of Nigeria. It is not also an Anglophone or Francophone issue. Those are kind of recalibrating our struggle in the mindset of the colonial period. It's an aspect of occupation. One country moving beyond its own internationally recognized border, installing a system of impunity in another country, and has since then governed us, as a colonized people.
For apartheid to fall here in South Africa, you had international support, for instance. How much and what kind of support, international support, do you have for your freedom, for your independence?
One of the reasons why apartheid fell, as you've rightly put it, is because as a student in primary school, we all supported the anti-apartheid struggle. We made handwork and sold them to contribute to the anti-apartheid struggle. We have borrowed from the playbook of the ANC, international mobilization, because we believe in a people-driven struggle. So our struggle is widely supported by peoples across the world. I know when we talk about a support for a people's struggle, we are looking from the state of a government.
Yeah.
No, apartheid fell because the people across the globe rose up against the system. It didn't fall because government supported the anti-apartheid struggle. And that's the same system we are using. I am here in South Africa to remind the South Africans of the moral responsibility they have to other peoples that are fighting against oppression. Because we all stood up. While I was, I think, 9 years of age, we stood up against the system that was imposed here in South Africa. We also know that there are different governments. The U.S. Senate held a hearing on the Ambazonian issue. The British Parliament has made a statement about it. More than 150 German parliamentarians have requested the government to suspend economic support to Cameroon. The wild side is the utter silence of African states. The wild side is the utter silence of the African people. And I think it's high time we understand that, you know, injustice anywhere in Africa affects different African people because it creates a movement of people across borders.
Have you taken Have you taken your issue, or how is your issue being dealt with at the levels of regional and international bodies? I'm talking about ECOWAS, for instance, in West Africa. I'm talking about SADC here, south of Africa. I'm talking about the African Union, for instance, and other multinationals.
We've done a lot of work at both the regional and international level, not beginning 2 years ago. As far back as 20 years ago, we submitted petitions at the level of the United Nations. I have sent a representation to the African Union. We have presented our case at the African Union Security Council. We have made presentations at the level of ECOWAS. So we have done our homework in terms of targeted diplomacy to draw the attention of the international system that there is an ongoing genocide in Ambazonia, and there is an historical injustice that was committed because of the conspiracy between the United Nations, France, and the United Kingdom. And so they have an obligation to rewrite this wrong in order to stop, you know, the genocide that is going on in our country.
0891-104-207 Ayaba, who is the frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council. This country is pretty much in Cameroon, but the southern part. And Dr. Ayaba says that this is an independent territory. And I want to ask, how different is your story to that of the peoples of Palestine and Israel as well?
There is a great similarity because our case with respect to the Palestinian situation is that of occupation, violation of international borders, and you know, using domestic law to commit crimes that amounts to crimes against humanity, and to our own situation almost to the level of genocide. And so we are an occupied territory in the same way as the Palestinians are claiming that the violation of the 1967 border, you know, has extended the border of Israel into Palestine. And so the same way the Palestinians are seeking independence with an internationally recognized border as demarcated by the international system is the same way we are asking Cameroon to withdraw to the border at which it gained independence, which were, I mean, demarcated as far back as 1916, confirmed in 1931, and reaffirmed in 1964. So occupation across the globe, you know, they are all similar, and peoples under occupation face similar experiences of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and a high level of impunity that is sanctioned by domestic legislation.
All right, we'll take a couple of calls now on 0891. Good morning.
Yes, Brother Bongi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm looking at the time. We'll be approaching the news in a short while, but I just want to cut through the chase. Brother Bongi, you know, I'm listening to the fire that is burning out of your guest today.
Yeah, Dr. Ayaba,
and I can tell you that is breathing fire because he is hurt. The pain that he's seeing all around him of his people, you know, is just unimaginable. It is high time that South Africa, as one of the leading countries in this continent, assist all these other countries, particularly the problem in Cameroon. We know that the likes of Paul Biya have been on that presidential palace for very many years. Why? Because they are protected by the likes of France. And the reason why it is difficult, at least according to my thought, it is because they know that they are protected by France. Therefore, France makes it impossible for that to happen. So that they must continue benefiting from Cameroon as an intact country, and all other francophone countries. And that is unjust, and it must stop.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel, in Bushbuck Ridge. And they reached a genocidal status right now, or is it the wording and rhetoric? You will say you'll put it as genocide, and government will put it as separatist rule.
No.
Yeah.
I'm a student of history.
Yeah.
Genocide is not even about the number of people you kill. It's about the intent. And the intent of the Cameroon government is to occupy Ambazonia, and it wants to do that by physically eliminating the Ambazonian people. We have a situation where Cameroon colonial senior divisional officer
asked citizens of 16 villages in the Manyo County to leave those villages and move across the border. That is an intent to take out the people. And so when we talk about genocide, we are not looking about numbers. Because when you look at Rwanda, you ask if 1 million people are dead. We're talking about the intent of the activities of Cameroon. And the intent is to physically eliminate Ambazonia so we can have access to our resources, we can have access to control our land. And we think genocide is ongoing, and the world has a moral responsibility. The South African people, I don't want to focus on governments. The world today is, I want to see it from a bottom-up perspective, where the people of different countries rise up and say, I am an Ambazonian, highlight the plight of the Ambazonian people, as we did for the South African people during the anti-apartheid struggle.
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave it at that. We've run out of time. But thank you very much to Dr. Cho Ayaba, frontline leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council. And the flag, it has a sky blue and white stripe flag stamped with a dove. And of course, the national anthem there speaks of the heroes who bore the land with their blood.
Yes, Ambazonian, my motherland, my only land of freedom and peace, a land so accommodating, a land blessed with natural resources. My roots, my nation, till the world hears our cry and intervene. We will speak till our nation becomes a reality. Long live all the Ambazonians. Long live our fallen heroes who gave up their lives to save the future generation of Amazonia. Long live Ambazonia. Our hopes are alive. Peace.
We are not giving up. We are not giving up. Amazonians, we are not giving up. We need freedom. We are not giving up. Amazonians, we are not giving up.
Fellow Ambazonians, all man man, it plays the Shishiknode. My apologies for coming on late. Today, I'm very grateful to address all of you. I know we had a long outing the other day during an interview with Chat Night, and I'm grateful that some of you step up the plate in the defense of our cause. As I wrote the day after, Ambazonia is the only place where, in times of a perilous crisis like ours, journalists claim to be neutral. And I wonder if between 1939 and 1945, if the BBC for 1 second could have been neutral. Or during Desert Storm, if you thought CNN could be neutral. We are living in difficult moments, and everybody seems to want to survive above the interests of the collective, and people have lost their sense of sacrifice because of so many years of colonial domination. But I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful because the majority of Ambazonians, those who picked up arms, the lawyers and teachers who rose up, those in jail, refugees and IDPs who are still fighting wherever they are, and all of us recognize the danger in association with Cameroon. We recognize that Cameroon is like a Titanic that is going aground, and we either bail out or sink with Cameroon. And I think the Ambazonian people have made a firm decision and have made a firm commitment with freedom. And this is above a struggle simply for the notion of independence. As I have said repeatedly, we are faced with a barbaric regime that virtually has no respect for human life. We are faced with a system that has thrived on looting, on killings, on propaganda, and the perpetuation of everything that divides a people, impoverishes them, and keeps them in servitude. And they have made it absolutely clear, if you do not succumb to their antics, you have three places. You are either in jail, or you are in exile, or you are in the grave. They have been very clear about it. Mr. Biya has constantly, during his outings, denigrated every group of people who have risen up with legitimate concerns about his rule, the policies of Cameroon, and their method of responding to the entreaties or demands for political, economic, or social change. And we have also been very clear. There will be no middle ground as far as dealing with Cameroon is concerned. I know people liken that to extremism. We don't want to compromise. As I said during my interview, we compromise with our land. We compromise with our political institutions. We compromise with our economic infrastructures. We compromise with our lives, our liberty. There's virtually nothing left we can offer. And so everybody must know this. It is not the Ambazonian people in the past 63 years that have refused compromise. It has been Cameroon from 1961. They have used all forms of machinations, intoxication, bribery and corruption, recruitment of thousands of Ambazonians, and turn them into traitors. I was reading a script from one of them today calling our country a Facebook republic. Amazonia is a tangible state with international borders that are treaty-based, recognized internationally. We are a people, not even on the basis of the Banjul outcome, by virtue of the mandate, the trusteeship, by virtue of the natural topographic features that reinforces our borders to give us the opportunity within our homeland to build a common language, a common system, a common lifestyle. We are a people. And so for anybody to think we are a product of some division of an entity called Cameroon, you are engaged in self-deception. And that self-deception is what is leading to Cameroon's self-destruction. We have to be very, very clear about our journey, because that is what we can use to explain our position. This journey has been a journey where all leaders have compromised, giving up everything with a wild hope that maybe their surrender or capitulation will win the admiration of Cameroon and some compromises. Cameroon has been very clear. They've seen us as some form of a lost territory, which they are the mother state to reclaim. And they have been absolute, not in the past, even now, about the fact that we are enemies. We are slaves. And according to them, we have no right to ask for anything. Because after all, human rights are only assigned to humans. And because we are not considered humans, we do not have the opportunity to enjoy human rights or even civil rights. So my people, Cameroon has not only denied our right to exist, it has made it impossible for us to survive as individuals and as a people by the very destruction of the foundation of our economy. They made it impossible for us to trade, to develop, and to create wealth, which is necessary for our survival. By the very fact that they destroyed completely and took over our political institutions, they made it impossible for us to organize, to make laws, to protect, or to codify norms and values. And they knew from the beginning that the foundation of Ambazonia's strength lies in their education. And I'm not talking about some classroom education. In our upbringing, in our nurturing from our homes with our parents, we were tailored to tilt towards values of compromise, tolerance, community, hard work. They knew that even the destruction of our socio-economic and political institutions will still leave us okay through hard work. They then took over our educational institution, revised our history, determined the curriculum of education that we were supposed to have. The curriculum of education of every educational system is the most important barometer that you can use to measure economic development and growth. When your educational curriculum is designed by people who are bent on eliminating you from the face of the earth, you can expect the outcome of any education through that system to be worthless. And that's what most of us became. On the left, people line up on the road to exile. They decreed schools that they could never invest in. Our parents will invest in those schools. Amazonian teachers struggled to get the kind of education that they needed to be able to educate the next generation. They were paid so badly. Teachers had to become farmers, bricklayers, taxi drivers just to survive. And sometimes the measure of the worth of a teacher was not about how many qualified students they produce. It was about how many students they failed. And nobody cared. Because why should they, considering how they are treated? Thousands of our people, after graduating from high school, went over to either Biafra land, Nigeria. A very few had the opportunity went United Kingdom, United States. Those who went to Cameroon became frustrated. We then went back on the street to demand for the creation of the University of Boya. It took lives and limbs to get that university. And they said they were going to teach us a lesson, since we had to compel them to decree a university. And in decreeing that university, they decreed the University of Ngaoundere, I think Yaoundé 2, Marwa, and other places, so they can split the budget thing. And so Ambazonia'S ended up in a university where there were neither computers within a computer department, nor a lab within the science department. Everybody was struggling for certification rather than knowledge. Nobody understood the foundation that they needed to lay if they needed to be qualified professionally. And that's how the university has become what we call the glorious high school. We fought for the GCE board because students went to write exams. Exams were set in half-baked English and Pidgin, sometimes with French. Teachers fought, students fought for a board of education that can oversee the setting, marking, and validation of exams. When they surrendered, they put their cronies, and within a few years, they had hijacked the GCE board. At the legal front, the common law system that is very important in Ambazonia has been constantly undermined. The presumption of innocence, which is the foundation of the criminal justice system, totally destroyed. Every accused was already guilty. You had to be extorted to prove yourself. Their court systems was totally antithetical to the common law system. Political opponents were moved from one jurisdiction to the other, where they were passed through kangaroo trials, locked up incommunicado, subjected to torture, no proper legal representation, no financial support. We became hostages. Nobody could really provide an alternative. We had a wild dream that reforming Cameroon is possibly going to protect the Ambazonian rights to some form of internal self-determination. They organized elections where in urban areas they appointed government delegates to oversee elected mayors. In rural areas, DOs became the de facto mayors. They did everything to emasculate the Ambazonian people. As if that was not enough, even administrative districting, DOs took over. mostly Cameroonian citizens. The few Ambazonians who became DOs had to succumb or be fired or be transferred to long-distance places totally separated from their families. Because they had no hope, they had to integrate and became part of the machinery of torture, fanning of intertribal wars, taking over of our land, selling those lands. They became the de facto chiefs. All the chiefs were custodians of our tradition, of our way of life, of the foundation of our being, held their position in abeyance to obeying the laws of Yaoundé, submitting themselves to the authority of the very butchers that have devastated their communities. The men in our chieftaincies and fondoms whom we revered became public laughingstocks as they bowed to colonial governors, colonial DOs, became political appointees like the Angwafos. They rubbish the very essence of our being, made a mockery of the foundation of our lives that many generations before brave men had fought to secure. Cameroon declared its victory over us publicly and dared anyone who raised the finger. Those who tried met with immediate death. They knew France had their backing. There was no consequences. They knew they had recruited from amongst us millions of others. They knew the economic situation in Ambazonia had become so bad that millions had migrated into Cameroon and they will not bite the finger that supposedly fed them. They knew they had imprisoned, they had murdered the bravest of the bravest, and they had exiled others. That there was nobody left to challenge their violence, undermine their propaganda, and put them to shame. This is the arrogance of autocracies. And this is the foundation of the demise of all autocracies. My people, so if at any moment you have the feeling that maybe we are pushing so hard, maybe we are not making compromises, you should know we are coming from someplace called the Endelis, the Fonchas, the Joas, the Monas, and others who made meaningful compromises, ended up being humiliated. Some of you as old as half my age, if you happen to have been in Boya, you heard Pav Mona say, what kind of balok is this? You saw them travel to the United Nations to ask for help to undermine the very foundation they laid for coexistence. So it's not some stuff of our generation that we're concocting. I remember when we told Pa Tasang and the others, let's move straight, forget about this issue of trying to reform the educational system or the legal system. And they said, no, they can do it. What happened? Helicopter gunships. We all saw how lawyers were battered down in Boya, humiliated. And the very man who dared them sits in jail without any hope. No mercy, no pity. Their only crime, I'm not even talking about those who carry political baggage. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about not even teachers who taught in Amazonia, those who taught in Biafra, those who taught in Nigeria, whisked from their homes, separated from their children. The monster showed who is boss, took them by plane back to their capital. Demonstration of power, no mercy. And for 8 years, They've not only denied our existence, they have denied our humanity. They have burned thousands of villages. They have roasted children in broad daylight. No apologies. They've massacred young men as if that was not enough. They kill our guys, get their bodies and put them as trophies in the middle of the cities to send a strong warning to anyone who dare the master. That's what we are up against. And so you ask the question, do you want to surrender? Walk back through all the burnt villages, limping over the body of Mami Api, watching Baby Mata looking at you with a glaring disdain, walking over the bodies of all the fallen soldiers who fought so bravely for our country, back into the arms of the tyrants who laid bare our coast. Or you want to muster the courage, continue this journey that was started more than 130 years ago by the great Kuvalekenyes. Scale the highest mountains, swim across shark-infested rivers, knowing fully well that if you make it, there will be hope for millions of our people. Those who have died must not have died in vain. Those who've lost their liberties, separated from their families, wouldn't have done so in vain. Today, I come to talk to you about why we must muster that courage and keep going forward. And to let you understand some of the measures that we will institute will have some level of pain. We have to bear it. Some haven't even gotten the chance. They lost their lives. Think about the children of Ngabo. Think what happened to them between the moment their murderers showed up, the pain they felt. Think about you being a parent and having your kids killed on Valentine's Day. Think seriously like one of those parents, knowing fully well how painful their death must have been, but that the enemy had enough time to put the bodies together, poured fuel on them, lit a match, burned the bodies, stood by and made sure no parent could identify their child. That is Cameroon. And so for the measures we take and the disturbances that may create, that is far lower than the pain the parents of the Ngabo victims still feel up till this moment. My fellow people, national lockdown in the entire territory of Ambazonia begins tomorrow. It will run until the 23rd. Today, our normal country Sunday has gone very well, from Victoria right up to Bamenda. We have shown that we want independence. We want to be free from the nagging grip of Cameroon. And I ask each and every one of you to begin tomorrow with courage, with a big smile on your face, with a desire to sacrifice not only for the birth of our country, but in remembrance of all those who've given their lives. Just imagine how those in Kondengi got up today and saw the videos of the various cities and closed their eyes and said to themselves, thank God we have not been abandoned. Whatever you do in furtherance of our cause of freedom, you must know you are impacting the lives of those in jail in a very positive manner. You're giving hope to the mothers and fathers, the brothers and sisters who have lost their loved ones. We must vomit Cameroon. We must reject it in all its entirety. We must hate it. It has caused enough pain in us. And I know you ask, what's the alternative? We have presented the alternatives to you. And I'll take a few points in terms of education. Ambazonian education is skill-based and competency-based, as opposed to the rejected certificate-based indoctrination, morally depraved, and mass education system of French Cameroon. Ambazonian education focuses on individuals' holistic development to become creative problem solvers and world creators, as opposed to a system that is interested in mass production of unschooled graduates. Our education shall be officially provided even at homes. Homeschooling is part of our curriculum. Regulated schools, Ambazonian community schools, and virtually through online education. Every day, every time and everywhere shall be used to teach our children, depending on their need and resources required. Thus, every minute, we will have a graduate from the Ambazonian school system who is ready from day one to positively transform himself or herself, impact their family, community and country, Africa and the world. This is the new orientation that the Ambazonian Educational Board is putting on the table. Learning is a continuous affair from birth to the end of time. Hence, we must stop narrowing it down to tie with the traditional obsolete system that betrays the very essence of education. On this note, I call on all of you, even those in exile, to log on to www.orionambazonia, one word, orionambazonia.com, to register for any course of study of your choice. Study at your pace, graduate, and you are done. Ambazonian communities should also meet under the leadership of the Ambazonian Transitional Authority, agree within their means, set up community schools, and run them following the Ambazonian curriculum of education, policies, and guidelines. Parents and guardians must not let their children get missing in the crowd. Thus, they are called upon to be the primary investors and masters of the quality and content of education that their children get at the table. Homeschooling will become a pillar of the educational system of Ambazonia, and we are putting in place with parents together the structures that will make this prevail. My fellow people, we have been trapped like prisoners for so many years that we know of just two opportunities: Cameroon or exile. We have never believed that we can create by ourselves something from scratch, work on it, perfect it, build it, and own it. All through the past 8 years, we have shown you when you thought it was impossible to create an army. With Changshu's, Dengons, they have matured. They have grown of age. They are now so sophisticated that if you look back 8 years ago and you think of the arrogance of Yaoundé, you will never believe that we have the will or the means to attack, to undermine, and to humiliate Cameroon. Now, they believe they can defeat us through propaganda. They want to say our struggle is chaotic. So many people are dying, but they never tell you who is killing these people. Our people are suffering. Nobody explains to you who is the architect of the pain and suffering. As though you were stupid to know the looters, bandits, cartel bosses who ravaged our cause, looted Cameroon Bank, destroyed WADA, UNVDA, shut down Power Camp, closed Yoke Hydroelectricity Power Station, abandoned Victoria Deep Sea Port. They are the culprits. It's not the Ambazonian soldier, the man in the arena who is ready for victory or defeat, who is the source of your pain. The looters, the invaders, the anarchists. They are the ones who have imposed misery. We shall overcome as a people together, and we must stick together. God bless you all.
Yes, Ambazonia, my motherland, my only land of freedom and peace, a land so accommodating, a land blessed with natural resources. My roots, my nation, till the world hears our cry and intervene, we will speak till our nation becomes a reality. Long live all the Ambazonians. Long live our fallen heroes who gave up their lives to save the future generation of Amazonia. Long live Ambazonia. Our hopes are alive. Peace.
We are not giving up. We are not giving up. Amazonians, we are not giving up. We need freedom. We are not giving up. Amazonians, we are not giving up.
56 years has washed away our fears and strengthened our pride. Now we turn back the tide. We will no longer hear your command. We will seize the control from your hands. We will fan the flame of our anger and pain, and you feel the shame for what you're doing done. And we will fight for the right.
We've come here to tell the United Nations that the land they mortgaged to Cameroon will be recaptured by the brilliant people of Ambazonia.
Right! Yes!
That the complicity they had with the United Kingdom will be dampened. That your spirit, the indomitable spirit that has led you from your homes right here to this plaza, will not be extinguished by the banality of evil installed in our homeland. That the spirit that has awakened from the dusty street of Mutengene to the alleys of Bamenda will not be squashed by the brutality of Cameroon, the complicity of the United Nations, and the utter silence of the United Kingdom. For the blood of our people spilled for those who've gone before us. We stand like valiant soldiers to lay our lives to ensure that their blood wasn't spilled in vain. That they didn't die in vain. That the mothers who screamed for their daughters, the fathers who are on shore where their kids are detained, wouldn't mourn in vain. I have come here as a soldier of the revolution. I have come here to assure you that this is just the first step to internationalize our struggle, to make the international community understand our pain, the pain of the mothers, the yearning of the fathers, and the doubts plastered on the faces of our kids. That the land, the 43 square meter land that we own, will not be mortgaged, will not be taken by any other country. That we are ready, that we will fight block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, until the day, as the last speaker said, we will be able to install a government in Boya, a government for the Ambazonians, a government by the Ambazonians, that is going to speak for us, fight for us, make treaties for us. We are not going to allow an alien dominating power from Yaoundé to decide our future, decide the curriculum of our education, decide what language we speak in our courts. And if the lawyer said no, right from here in New York, we send a message to Yaoundé that we are ready for the gendarmes, the big, and all the evil spirits that have been installed in our homeland. That we will give our life for a free Ambazonia. That if this country was built on the blood of people from distant places, we are ready as soldiers of the revolution to make sure that one day, just one day, we have a homeland to call our own, a place to dwell in peace, a place where we as a people can decide our destiny. You've just got started. It's a long journey. Liberation is not a walk in the park, and I want you to be ready. Do not believe soothsayers who say you are just going to have it on a platter of gold. It's going to be a hard struggle. But the footprints you leave here today will be followed by those after us. They will know we were here. They will know we fought for them. They will know we died for them. They will know we did our part. And so they will use the same rope map to be able to inhabit a free country. If that's the only thing we can give our children, let's do it for Mother Ambazonia. I want to thank your leadership. I want to thank all those who've made it possible for me to be here. Together as a people, we will fight together, go to jail together, so one day we may be free together.
Good evening from Europe. Good evening from Ambazonia. Good afternoon in the United States. Good night, good morning in Asia. Fellow Ambazonians, this is your unbound statesman and comrade in the War of Independence, Dr. Julius Nye, the Vice President of the Ambazonian Governing Council. I am now deputizing for Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, the leader of the Ambazonian Governing Council and the Ambazonian War of Independence. I come to you today for a very important message regarding issues that have come up in the last 24 hours regarding the leadership of your God-ordained quest for freedom. Your leadership in the Ague of Sea, in the name of Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, including some other leaders of the different organs of the organization, were visited yesterday around 12:40 p.m. Amber time during the day. They came to their abodes in the US and in Oslo, Norway, with search warrants. Your leader was taken away for questioning. He was arraigned in front of a judge for alleged incitement of breach of international humanitarian laws in Cameroon. Other comrades that were visited in the United States and questioned as well had been released, but your leader is still being questioned by the authorities in Norway. I can confirm to you that we are in contact with your leader through his family and an assigned solicitor, or what you call lawyer. I can also confirm that your leader was being questioned today, and your leader was dressed in his normal Ambazonian colors, topped with a cap with the inscription "No Blinking." I can also confirm to you that your leader has been schooling the authorities in Norway through the question and answer sessions about the allegations levied upon him on the Ambazonian cause. I can also assure you that the Ambazonian leader, in the name of Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, is doing well and he's well kept by the authorities in Norway. I can also confirm to you that this arrest is not the first of its kind. The questioning is not the first of its kind. It has happened before, 3 years ago to be exact, including myself, where the Irish authorities visited my abode. We know the origin of these arrest and search warrants. They come from a dying occupier, La République du Cameroon. The recent search warrant and arrest for questioning has been engineered by a failing Cameroon, and directly as a result of the overwhelming support that Ground Zero gave to the 2 weeks lockdown. It is testament to the intimidation tactics of Cameroon towards the leadership. It is an attempt to try to decapitate the leadership of your struggle. But rest assured that in the last 24 hours, the Ambazonian Governing Council has put in motion the strategic plan for continuity, the strategic plan for succession. And I applaud all the leaders, all the head of projects, all the fighters, all the sympathizers of the Ambazonian Governing Council that have kept their composure, that have kept their resilience, that have respected the statutes and the rules governing continuity and succession within the Ambazonian Governing Council during this short period where the leader is unavailable. Following the legal counsel's advice, there is a maximum duration for which the leader can be questioned, and thereafter that duration, the leader can be charged or becomes a free man. Ambazonians have been arrested in different countries around the world, including the United States, in relation to the war that was declared on the Ambazonian people by Cameroon. We have won in every battle. I can assure you that the lectures that Dr. Cho is giving the authorities and the clarity that he would provide will push the Ambazonian cause forward. The Ambazonian Governing Council and the Ambazonian Defense Forces have conducted self-defense actions against Cameroon declared war with strict observance of international humanitarian law and the War of Conduct, the Geneva Convention, although Ambazonia is not signatory to that, because we knew from the beginning that this was going to be a trump card for Cameroon. The Ambazonian Governing Council has also made sure that the code of conduct of its self-defense forces, the code of conduct of the political, the diplomatic, and the civil wings have been seen, commented, and feedback provided by international human rights organizations. And that feedback has been incorporated into our working structure, processes, and the very codes of conduct. And as such, the Ambazonian Governing Council is confident under my leadership at the moment, until the leader is a free man, to continuously follow international rules and norms, international humanitarian law, good practice in war, in order to defend our territory, in order to crumble Cameroon that has lost legitimacy, has lost the power to govern, has lost the power to institute schools, to institute local authorities within the Ambazonian territory. I have some news for Cameroon. You can arrest every Ambazonian. The war will continue, including myself. I know arrests are on their way. But as our saying goes, soldier go, soldier come, barrack remain, the war continues until we are free. We have signed up to free Ambazonia, and Cameroon should understand that this is the generation that would bring an end to its adventure, to its calamity in Ambazonia, and that as you have been defeated on the war front, this shows the signs of a dying regime, and that we are prepared at any moment to continue with our offensive and defensive actions that have been ongoing in the ground in the last 3 to 4 months. Cameroon has lost international standing. Enablers have been recruited. Blacklegs have been recruited. It is the policy of the Ambazonian Governing Council that we are and we will, using the arm of the law, look for blacklegs, enablers, as well as Cameroon apologies during and after the war. And we will bring each of you to justice. For the international community, this once again shows you the brutality of Cameroon. However, it is the duty, the responsibility of the Norwegian government to make sure that it is not harboring anyone within its territory that is infringing international law. And from our legal counsel, we understand that due process is being followed, the president is well kept, and at the end of the process, as it has been in the past, Ambazonia will be the winner, the hero. Fellow countrymen and women, In the next 6 days, we are going to celebrate our Independence Day. This is a calculated attempt in Norway and in the United States to search the residence of our leaders, 3 of them in number. This is a calculated attempt to dampen your spirit after a successful lockdown. This is a calculated attempt to make sure that you are demoralized and you don't celebrate your Independence Day. I can assure you, in the last 26 hours, I have gone through every single barrack. The leaders of the barracks have gone through every single barracks. Our forces are at alert. Our forces are preparing for 1st October. Civilians and schools are preparing for 1st October. In the diaspora, all the different missions that would march, that would petition governments, that would celebrate Independence Day, all the projects are ongoing. The different organs of the Ambazonian Governing Council has once more shown how resolute and how determined and respect for the very charter and codes of conduct that they've put in place to make sure that whether it's Dr. Cho or Dr. Nyi tomorrow, the quest for our freedom will go unabated, and that we will be unflinching, we will be unblinking in the face of international conspiracy engineered by false allegations from Cameroon. Fellow countrymen, we have to be proud as a generation that against all odds have crumbled Cameroon's institutions, power, and military that has stationed and ingrained itself in the Ambazonian fabric for the last 60 years. We have done that in less than 8 years to institute ungovernability. Thanks to the heroes, to the civilians that put themselves in the line of fire. This arrest for questioning by our leader is a great opportunity for us to once more highlight the plight of the suffering of our people. It is an opportunity for us to continue with our diplomatic moves and to continue to mobilize our grassroots. In the next few days, I will be holding a panel discussion with other leaders within the Ambazonian Governing Council to look at the rationale for the success of the last lockdown that was scheduled for 2 weeks, and it went for full 2 weeks in the entire territory. At that point, lines will be open for any questions and other developments about the state of the leader. If it's not yet out by that time following Norwegian law, will be discussed. Fellow Ambazonians, Saturday would be your fundraiser day, where you use the funds to engage in humanitarian activities, to support schools, to support community health centers, and to support those that put themselves on the line to defend your independence declared, affirmed, and being defended by these valiant boys and girls, and your defiance to the entire regime of Cameroon. I can also assure you that the Ambazonian Governing Council has, through its Law and Justice Department, has assembled a group of legal experts to make sure that the leader is well represented by independent legal team in the Norwegian court, should it come to that. And that all organs of the organizations are working according to plans that were laid out, should there be a temporal vacuum, as we find now, or a permanent vacuum. And that we have been at this before. We will leave no stone unturned to hunt the perpetrators of genocide in Ambazonia, be them Ambazonians or Cameroonians. We will leave no stone unturned to make sure that Cameroon pays for its failed adventure in Ambazonia, and that for any Cameroonian venturing into Ambazonia to burn houses, to kill civilians, your days are numbered. We are the never again generation, and we will make sure that your generation over the Mongol lives to remember this failed adventure in Ambazonia. Fellow countrymen and women, this is the time to show your solidarity. Your faith lies in the Ambazonian Governing Council, and you have shown through your support time and again how dedicated you are to the quest for freedom. You have shown through your civil disobedience, the country Sundays, and other actions on the ground and beyond, how your identity and values are Ambazonian and not Cameroonian. And in this regard, I can assure you that that intuition is coming from your leader, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba. I can also assure you that in the next few days, he's going to present a vital case for the freedom of Ambazonia. He's going to school the authorities on what they don't know, and that Cameroon's failed charges will be disbanded. Hail, hail, land of glory, Ambazonia for life.
We've come here to tell the United Nations that the land they mortgaged to Cameroon will be recaptured by the brilliant people of Ambazonia.
Right! Yes!
That the complicity they had with the United Kingdom will be dampened. That your spirit, the indomitable spirit that has led you from your homes right here to this plaza, will not be extinguished by the banality of evil installed in our homeland. That the spirit that has awakened from the dusty street of Mutengene to the alleys of Bamenda will not be squashed by the brutality of Cameroon, the complicity of the United Nations, and the utter silence of the United Kingdom. For the blood of our people spilled for those who've gone before us, we stand like valiant soldiers to lay our lives to ensure that their blood wasn't spilled in vain, that they didn't die in vain, that the mothers who screamed for their daughters, the fathers who are on shore where their kids are detained, wouldn't mourn in vain. I have come here as a soldier of the revolution. I have come here to assure you that this is just the first step to internationalize our struggle, to make the international community understand our pain, the pain of the mothers, the yearning of the fathers, and the doubts plastered on the faces of our kids, that the land, the 43 square meter land that we own, will not be mortgaged, will not be taken by any other country. That we are ready, that we will fight block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, until the day, as the last speaker said, we will be able to install a government in Boya, a government for the Ambazonians, a government by the Ambazonians, that is going to speak for us, back for us, make treaties for us. We are not going to allow an alien dominating power from Yaoundé to decide our future, decide the curriculum of our education, decide which language we speak in our courts. And if the lawyer said no, right from here in New York, we send a message to Yaoundé that we are ready for the gendarmes, the big, and all the evil spirits that have been installed in our homeland. That we will give our life for a free Ambazonia. That if this country was built on the blood of people from distant places, we are ready as soldiers of the revolution to make sure that one day, just one day, we have a homeland to call our own, a place to dwell in peace, a place where we as a people can decide our destiny. You've just got started. It's a long journey. Liberation is not a walk in the park, and I want you to be ready. Do not believe soothsayers who say you are just going to have it on a platter of gold. It's going to be a hard struggle. But the footprints you leave here today will be followed by those after us. They will know we were here. They will know we fought for them. They will know we died for them. They will
No, we still have that. And so they will use the same rope map to be able to inhabit a free country. If that's the only thing we can give our children, let's do it for Mother Ambazonia.
Hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonians, special loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero for God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.